I felt like I didn't have a lot of money that I could invest, but I have time. And, sometimes to me, that's more valuable than money because you're going to give of yourself a lot for certain things. And a lot of times it just takes someone to say, hey, I'll do it.
Welcome to the Small Nation Podcast, brought to you by CoverLink Insurance, where people are more important than policies. On this show, we unpack lessons from entrepreneurs, break down development strategies, and do deep dives on small town success. Our goal is to provide value to our listeners by hosting conversations that teach, inform, and inspire. Hey everyone, my name is Ethan DeLeon, and I'm here in the studio with the founder and CEO of Small Nation, Jason Duff. Today, we're excited to be hosting the CEO of Quest Federal Credit Union, Matthew Jennings. Welcome, Matt.
Hey, thank you very much.
Matt, it's good to have you on the show today.
Always great to see you, Jason.
Well, I appreciate that, Matt. I will tell you, Hardin County, it's right north of us, is a very special place to me because actually, let's strike that 5 years, I went to Ohio Northern University in Ada, and it really is a place people say that the salt of the earth kind of people are
Absolutely.
there. I think it's part of the DNA of generations of family farms and the grit of hardworking small business owners. And, one of those businesses, we were talking earlier before the show, but we as a family would celebrate and go to Hardin County for our holidays to the Plaza Inn.
Oh, yes.
So a restaurant that, probably for 50 years, 60 years, maybe longer.
The owner was just in my office today, and he said 65 years.
65 years.
Yeah.
And, I think it was a tradition that my great-grandparents started for our family where, the food was wonderful, and they were also open during the holidays, where a lot of places aren't. But their family recognized that by being open, it was a place for people to celebrate and enjoy the holidays together, eat good food. But I appreciate those kind of salt of the earth businesses. And that particular family for many years had a car dealership on site, and there was an airstrip as well.
Still there.
And you're a private pilot.
Yes, I am.
So you could fly right in to enjoy food there.
That's right. I thoroughly enjoy their fried chicken. That's one of my favorite things in the world. And but I can drive there in about 3 minutes, so it's better than jumping in an airplane. It takes a little bit longer.
Well, on our podcast, we celebrate the success of small and independent businesses, and I think when it comes to Quest, I'd like you to tell us a little bit about your role at the bank and how you got started there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm the CEO, and it was really, I'm gonna not say by chance, but sort of by chance. I moved back home at my wife's urging to raise a family in small schools and rural America. And when I left for college, it wasn't necessarily the path I was looking for. I was looking for the big city life, but she convinced me, being a big city girl, that where this part of the state especially was very attractive to her. So we moved back, and I was helping my dad with a dairy farm, and I worked for a local agricultural lender. That was my day job. And lo and behold, a few of the people that were my clients there were also board members of Kenton Rockwell Standard Federal Credit Union, which was...
Say that 5 times fast, right?
Right, exactly. Quest Federal Credit Union is so much easier, but that was a challenge answering the phone back in the day. But they had an opening for a manager, and they hired me as their operations manager, sort of on a 1 year, let's see how this goes. If we like you and you like us, we'll promote you to CEO, and we'll grow from there. And that's exactly what happened 27 and a half years ago.
Going from employee to CEO, did you expect that was ever in the cards?
No, that I really didn't expect ever really obtaining a role like that. I wanted to be successful, and of course, growing up as a dairy farmer, what endless hard work looks like. And I was willing to put forth whatever hard work I needed to be successful and to raise my family, take good care of wife and children and that kind of thing. And it just, it was, maybe it was happenstance, but all the stars aligned, and it was the right time for me, and it was the right time for the credit union, and it's been sort of magical.
I have some younger members of our audience that are always asking the question, like, how do I get to the next stage in my career, or
Sure.
start with one business and maybe grow to a second. Like, as you reflect back kind of on that journey, like what are some of the things that have popped that have really helped you get to where you are?
So one, I think work ethic is supremely important, and whether you're self-employed or you work for someone else, you deserve for yourself, but also for your employer or your business, to work as hard as you possibly can to be successful. And I guess I tell school kids this all the time, because I get invited to talk to schools about leadership or banking, all different kinds of things, is never let an opportunity pass you by. Do not be afraid. If it's something that intrigues you, or it looks like a step in the right direction, jump.
Wow.
Go for it.
Yeah.
And I think you'll find that every once in a while you may just fall flat on your face, but more oftentimes you're gonna succeed. You're gonna fly.
So everyone's got their comfort zone, and it's like, how do you get uncomfortable getting outside of your comfort zone?
Yeah. I guess again, I go back to growing up on the family farm. And of course, my parents, my mom's a registered nurse. My dad's a farmer and certified real estate appraiser later on in life after the dairy farming. But, I didn't want for much as a kid, but I also didn't have excess either. And so I sort of felt like leaving home to go to college and, seek out an education and then a career I just have to do it. I have to go for it. And I can't let fear hold me back, because I've got nothing to fall back on. I've got the farm that I can fall back on, but with farming, and Ethan and I talked about this, it was either get really big or get out of dairy farming. And so there's a tremendous amount of risk and a lot of capital that you have to put forward. And I didn't have that as a 19, 20, 21-year-old kid to be able to do. And so that's maybe not a great answer to a really good question, but it's more just, hey, if you want to take that shot, just take it, go for it.
Well, we hear a lot about the need for capital, and more than ever today, with just the way the economy is, getting access to revolving credit, whether it's credit cards or maybe you're needing, to set up an account with a vendor. The ability to do that's getting a lot harder.
Right.
And just like the ag industry, like the way you're explaining, like family farms is either you're going to grow or you're going to get out of it. Do you think like that has propelled you to, be in the role you are today, and what are ways that you're actually helping people with that problem?
Sure. And yes, absolutely. I would say that one, I felt like, I needed to take the opportunities that presented themselves to me and run with it as best I possibly could. And now I happen to be, very blessed really to be in a position where I can consult with people looking to start a business, young entrepreneurs, people that, hey, how do I get my business banking started? What are you looking for if I come to you with a small business loan request? And that's a really great thing about Quest, and I think local banks and or credit unions for that matter, is that we want to build those relationships. It's going to benefit us. It's going to benefit you. It's going to benefit the community. So more than happy to sit down and have those conversations.
We spoke with Brittany Saxton. She is the owner of 600 Downtown, and on a previous podcast. And, when Brittany took over her business, she was new to business banking, and she shared openly that, Quest was really great to work with because she was originally from Kenton.
Right.
And I think one of her family members might have been an original charting member that went work for Rockwell. And by banking with a credit union, can you kind of talk about some of the differences that
Sure.
you have compared to a community bank?
Sure. And I always preface this that, I maintain, because of different community roles that I have, great relationships with our community banking system. And I think that community banks are fantastic. I think community credit unions are fantastic. I'm a big champion of stay local. When times are good, it benefits local. When times aren't good, you can walk through that door and talk to your local business banker, your relationship
Someone's
manager.
going to care about your situation.
And they care because it's it's our community and it's you as a person, not just a business owner. But it's Brittany's grandfather was a Rockwell retiree, and so she had probably been a member since she was a very young girl,
Yeah.
and so it's great to be able to forge those relationships because she comes to us and we make it simple. We try to keep. We really don't have a fee structure for just a basic business account. If you're starting out, you can't afford any extra fees. You can't afford all of the bells and whistles.
And let
that
me tell
go
you from
along.
firsthand experience that's not always common when you go to different. A lot of different banks have fees associated with small business accounts when you literally have $0 in your
Sure,
account to
sure.
start.
Right, you're just starting.
Yeah, and as your business grows and you need more and more cash services, so we're ordering maybe in cash or coin, whatever the case may be, for you in particular, there's cost associated with that to us to keep our costs very low to our membership in total, which is a credit union staple, I would say, is the low to no fee environment. Well, then of course, yes, but now your business has become more established. You can afford a little bit more,
Right.
but to just come in and be new to business and to be starting or trying to buy your first new business, like the example we're talking about, we're not going to do you any favors charging you a bunch of fees. So we try to keep it really simple. One stop, you call in, we tell you exactly what we need, stop in, we get your account established, really other than maybe a box of checks that you may need to purchase, which I think now most businesses are either doing laser checks or ordering those online. But we still have that option. The rest of it can be all electronic. Like we can do ACHs, we can do payroll postings for next to nothing. All different kinds of electronic services that we charge nothing or very, very little for. And it's comfortable for that small business.
And I think that's an important differentiator when, like you said, the startup costs are low. Being a part and being a member of something, can you kind of speak to some of the member perks that exist out there?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first of all, you could come and have a full line of, and we're talking personal accounts here at this point, but your savings, your checking, your money market, your online banking, your bill pay, your mobile app, your what we call P2P or person to person, is kind of our version of Zelle or Venmo, doesn't cost a thing.
Wow.
It's all free of charge. And the reason we can do that is, one, our tax structure is a little different, and that's by design by the federal government and the National Credit Union Administration, or NCUA. It's our version of the FDIC. They insure us, they regulate us, and we have a contractual obligation, for lack of better words, with our federal regulator to serve the underserved. And so we make sure that we can offer those basic banking services at no cost, whether that's lower income or maybe a senior citizen on a fixed income that can't afford that extra stuff. And we're going to serve them regardless of what they have or don't have. And aside from that, then I would put our technology up against just about any regional bank or credit union around with,
which is a super important element.
Yeah. Anymore it's all your smart devices where you're doing a lot of your banking. So we've been blessed to have tremendous. Brian Sprang in our IT department runs all of our technology, is fantastic. Our core processor is top notch, and it makes us, even though when you walk in our office it feels very local, but if you look at our technology, it feels very national. It feels good.
Yeah, super cool. Well, talk us through the journey of Quest a little bit, because I know we talked about Hardin County a little bit in the beginning, but how did you, I know you have an office here in Bellefontaine now,
Sure.
But can you take us quickly through that journey?
Yeah, absolutely. So credit unions are structured a little different. They're a financial cooperative. So a lot like your grain elevator or Logan County Electric Co-op, Mid-Ohio Energy in Hardin County, we're all cooperatives. So member owned. It doesn't matter if you have $5 or $500,000. You've got an equal vote with everyone else. And most credit unions were started by factories, school districts, parishes, that type of thing. You had a what they called a select group that could form a credit union. So when we talk about the one in Bellefontaine, that started out as IGA employees. Out on County Road 130, I think it is, or 117.
Right.
There's split right there somewhere. But and ours was Kenton Rockwell. And Kenton Rockwell, of course, built truck axles from the 40s all the way up until the early 2000s, and supplied places like International Harvester, which was just down the road in Springfield. So started out as Kenton Rockwell with a bunch of men and women carrying around $5 membership cards in their lunch pail, literally. Yeah, and that's how it started. And about 6 years later, they were primarily savings. It was all they could do. About 6 years later, they offered their first $250 Christmas loan program, and that was the launching point. In 1988, they purchased what was part of the old John Deere, campus at the time. There was multiple buildings, and they put in a bank trailer. Shortly thereafter, they built the credit union office that we have now. And when they hired me, that was part of that, kind of 1 year test phase. Was, hey, we know that we can't just stay married to Rockwell. We need to spread out and diversify, which was very, very wise. And of course, I'm a 26-year-old guy at that point and had no clue what they were talking about, but learned quickly. And so we started adding other select employee groups. And so, our local hospital, one of your family's competitors in Hensel Ready Mix,
Right.
Those other really good employers in the communities could join the credit union. And all the while working on what's called a community charter, where you can say, you're Franklin County, you're Hardin County, you're Logan County. This is one big community, and we want to serve anyone that lives, works, worships, or attends school within the boundaries of this community. So in 2001, we became Hardin Community Federal Credit Union, built our second office, which is on the east side of town, Jacob Parrott Boulevard. And if you know Kenton, you go out past the hospital, and there's a giant cemetery on the north side, and we're right there on the corner. Wasn't long after until we started working with IGA Credit Union, which had become Logan Community Credit Union, and we were helping them relocate into Bellefontaine and helping them adapt to the more modern computer system. Just to be frank, they were coming on board with our data processor, and their board members just said, why don't we do this together? And an interesting fact that I learned as we went through the process of chartering Logan County was that Hardin was Logan County in the early days. And then once Kenton grew enough to be its own population center, the state of Ohio split Hardin County off. So I had to do all this history lesson, but we got Logan County chartered as part of our community. And when you think about it, we share the Indian Lake watershed, we share school districts. We used to share State Highway Patrol Post that was just south of town here by Kroger. But a lot of things that bind us together, Hardin and Logan County. And we did that and merged the Logan Community Federal Credit Union into Hardin Community Federal Credit Union, and then embarked on a really cool process of rebranding to Quest. And we just knew that, Hardin County is not going to play well here in the name, and Logan County won't play well there. And,
sure.
And to get away from the Kenton Rockwell Standard Federal Credit, we wanted to shorten it down and have a name that was more, limitless. So we settled on Quest, and it's been great ever since.
I love that. We've had other conversations with, banks, things like that, but kind of talking about what, common beliefs that may be wrong. I'll just say it that way. With entrepreneurs, they may need a loan to get their business off the ground, and they walk into a bank and, find out that they may not be able to get that loan quite as easily as they thought. Can you maybe talk about some of those misnomers that may be out there about, getting your first, startup capital?
Sure. I would, I guess, advise right off the bat is don't be afraid to walk in the door and ask those questions. If you assume the answer is no, it's probably no. But if you walk in and you just sit down and talk with, whether it's a banking professional or whether it's a lender, we can walk you through that process. And I believe most local community banks would do the exact same thing, which is bring your idea. I'm not going to steal your idea from you, and I'm not going to go, open up that business that you thought was what you wanted to do with your career. What we're going to do is try to build a relationship with you, and say, okay, how can we help you with this? And sometimes we talk to first-time business owners, startup business owners, young business owners that they've got a little bit of capital. They've maybe got some, and sometimes they don't even think about stuff like this, like they've got some equity in their home.
Yeah.
And okay, well, you've got this great idea, and maybe you need a storefront. and maybe you need some equipment to put in that storefront to get this business going. But you've got this equity over here in your home that we could leverage that, or maybe you've got a 401k that we could advise you, like, hey, we're not investment advisors, but let's take a look at, can you take a loan against something like that? So, I mean, there's lots of different ways to tackle that.
Yeah.
And I think that the big thing is don't be afraid to walk in the door and ask.
Yeah. And I think, to your point earlier about, banking local versus a bigger organization probably helps that case, right? I think before we got on the microphones here, we were talking a little bit about trusting, that individual, because you know them in the community, you see what they're doing, things like that. So.
Right.
That's super cool. Well, I know one of the reasons we were excited, we appreciate the knowledge you've already shared with our listeners, but, you are known in the area for being involved in the community. And so I think we want to kind of unpack that from a couple of different directions. But I guess I'll tee up the question, what does community involvement mean to you?
Well, I believe that, I've led a charmed life. As a child, I had loving parents, grandparents that lived just down the road. That's part of the beauty, I guess, of the family farm, is that it's really family. And the wisdom that my wife showed many, many years ago to say, hey, the city's great and all, but it's really expensive. And can we sustain this? Can we succeed here? And the answer was, yeah, probably so. And it's going to take a lot of time and hard work to get there. So when I came back home, it was really about, this place was great to me. I played Little League ball, and I high school at Ridgemont, and played football and baseball, and all of those that helped with the performances from the show choir. That was like stagehand kind of person. But also, growing up doing 4-H and showing livestock at the fair, and all of those things that I loved about growing up here, I wanted to make sure that my son got to enjoy that his friends, my kids, my grandkids, everyone else's kids and grandkids get to enjoy that too. So I felt like I didn't have a lot of money that I could invest, but I have time. And, sometimes to me, that's more valuable than money, because you're going to give of yourself a lot for certain things. And a lot of times it just takes someone to say, hey, I'll do it. I'll take that on and I'll run with it. And so that's, to me, it was just putting myself out there and saying, hey, I want a good life for everyone's kids and grandkids, and I'm willing to help.
Yeah. I think that sometimes one of the misnomers is that, to serve your community, you just have to write checks. And really that is an important piece. But the time, talent, and treasure, like in the beginning, if you don't have a lot of money, like what can you do to step up to serve? Be a volunteer, get involved in, your local schools or your church, or, organizations that are in your community. For you, like, when you say a charmed life, and I think that, it is a circumstance of people before us that set up the institutions, the organizations, the schools.
Mm-hmm.
It is that kind of big, larger family of a community. And I hear when you speak, like, you want to see that continue on.
Absolutely.
And there's a threat that a lot of people today talk about how busy they are. And I'm curious how you feel about that, because it's the truth. Like, kids are probably more busier than they've ever been in all the different things. Right now there's a lot of pressure on with high inflation on working families being able to have the time, and maybe they need to take a second or third job. Like, how do you think about like these societal challenges of being busy and how we overcome it?
Yeah, and I would never tell anyone how to raise a child, but I was fortunate enough that one time my wife and I had my son involved in soccer and baseball, spring soccer and baseball at the same time, and I just said never again. And really just I hated to be that dad, but you're going to have to choose one or the other, because we only had one, and I can't imagine how families with 2, 3, 4, or 5 kids get around all of that stuff. And he chose baseball, but we set boundaries with it. And then when he got a little bit older, he opted not to do a winter sport just so he had a break. And but really, from a community level, I guess I would tell you that I've been able to invest a lot of time, But even if you just invest an hour a week in your church, in your kids' youth sports program, whatever it is that you're passionate about, that 1 hour is huge to somebody. And it's really huge to everyone that organization benefits. And I guess I look at it like, could we all squeeze 1 hour out of our day or out of our week where we're not on our cell phones, where we're not scrolling on social media? I think we probably can.
Yeah.
Truth be told.
And what's cool about that, I mean, this goes for monetary, donations as well, is like you do that little bit over a long extended period of time, and then you look back and like, holy cow, I donated, or like whether it's your time or your money or whatever, like a decent amount. And like that's something to be proud of. And a small sacrifice each week, adds up to quite a bit, which is really cool. I know you've served on several boards throughout the year. What can you talk us through your mindset on serving on boards and the significance of it? Yeah, sure. So, really, and you guys are all about economic development, and for me in my home, we didn't always pursue economic development, as I guess the right way to say it, when I was a young person. Yeah. And because of that, I think we got a little stagnant. We were a little bit stale. We were not growing jobs in small businesses. We were losing them. Case in point would be, the Rockwell plant, which started the credit union, their employees did. It was aging, obviously, but they did have one machine. It was a giant press that was like the only one like it in the world. And maybe we didn't as a community do enough to keep that here, and now it's just a giant parking lot. It's a slab of concrete. And I think that there was a concerted effort by a big group of people from all different backgrounds that said, hey, we've got to grow. We've got to turn this around. And so I sort of looked at, when we did some studies about what helps with economic development, it was things like strong school systems, robust hospital and healthcare system, emergency services, green space and activities for families and kids. And okay, so, I want to be involved. I want to help. I don't have a lot of money to give, but I have time and energy. Why don't I throw that time and energy at those things that I can help with, that help drive and impact economic development? And so I've done that. And like I said, off air, that was a giant team effort of a lot of different people, and it continues every day. You've got to stay after it all the time. Yeah. But that was the significance to me, was things that I was passionate about, but also things that I felt like would have a direct impact on that economic development piece. Yeah. And I mean, I know from our call that a big part of that was your employers, or your coworkers, I should say, allowing you that space to be able to do that, right? Right. So Jason, I'm going to tee kind of up to you, as you have several team members who serve on a number of different boards. Why is that important to you that they're doing that? And like, why is that what we want, rather than like you see it taking away from their time at Small Nation?
Yeah, well, I think it's getting them exposed to people that have different ideas and opinions that are diverse. And sometimes when you are in a business, a for-profit business, you're kind of captain of your own ship, and you can make decisions. Whether they're right or wrong, you have the authority to do that. When you're in a board, you have to kind of put on a different hat. Like I am a board member on this board, and I have maybe a set of bylaws that govern me, and I have to work with 8, 10, 12, 15 other people to get consensus on making a decision. And so the opportunities that I've had to serve, it's forced me to think differently and take more time to process. And that exercise I have found has, I think, made me a better leader. How about you, Matt? How do you think about that?
I would totally agree. I believe that, I answer to a board of directors at the credit union. So I understand from their perspective and what their role is. And, they're about vision and setting, our goals for the future. And then I'm the one that has to go execute it. So then when I turn around and I serve on that board, I can see both sides of it, where, hey, I'm not here to tell you what to do every day. I'm here to set goals and have vision for what the future of this organization looks like. And then you, as the employee or the director of that, organization, are going to have to go execute it. And I'll help you however I can, in whatever way I can. But I'll also stay out of your way. And I think that's an important part of leadership sometimes too, is saying, here you go. as long as you're ethical and you're honest and you're kind and you're compassionate and fair, go do it your way. And I'm here to help you.
And I think you see that with leaders in general, is that people have different styles about how they go about to accomplish something. And I'd say it's one of the things that I've had to learn and maybe take a step back with, is that, you come to a certain situation with your lenses and your body of evidence of experience, but some leaders, they have a different way to go about it. And I found that sometimes when I do step back and let people learn on their own, the outcome is probably far better than what I could have ever accomplished. It hurts your ego a little bit with that, but then that's the other neat thing, Ethan, that comes from getting exposed or being in different organizations or situations. You glean ideas from that, how to run a meeting, how to structure creating an agenda, how to prepare and write minutes, all of those things. As junior or newer team members have those experiences interacting with other professionals, your hope is they absorb that knowledge and bring that back to your organization.
Yeah, and I would say, now, and I'm very, very proud of this, and we research it every other year, we're a volunteer-driven organization. Our board is not paid. The board and credit committee and supervisory or audit committee of Quest is not paid at all. So completely volunteer, and then they drive that down to the staff too. And on average, Quest employees will donate somewhere between 2,400 and 2,600 hours per year to area organizations. And that's Hardin County, Logan County, Wyandotte County, which is another area that we serve. And I'm like the proud papa when I see, when I go to an event or something and I see a Quest person, as we call ourselves, explorers. Explore the possibilities is our tagline. So we call each other explorers. When I go out and I see an explorer volunteering their time, or I see their name on a program that they serve on this committee, or that I'm like the proudest dad ever.
Yeah, that's so cool. All right, at this time, we're going to take a quick break to hear a word from our sponsors. Come check out 600 Downtown Pizzeria in downtown Bell Fountain, where they cherish the art of making the most authentic, unique, and delicious, world-famous and award-winning pizzas. Their team hand-spins each pizza the old-fashioned way and only uses the freshest of ingredients. Come see why they were featured on the Food Network. If you are looking for a dynamic workspace in the heart of Bell Fountain, look no further. Build Co-working Space is your destination for creativity and collaboration. With state-of-the-art facilities and a thriving community, this is where innovation happens. Join them today for as low as $99 a month and build your success at Build Co-working Space. You talked about starting off, you didn't have a lot of money to donate, and so then you started with your time. But since then, it's my understanding that that Quest, I should say, has funded a lot of community things, whether it be a school team or a sponsorship for whenever it comes across your desk. I mean, obviously not every single time, but can you talk to me why you think that's important, and what return, I guess, to further the question, have you seen that for your business?
Yeah, and I don't think I'm giving away the special sauce recipe here at all, but we look at it like, what better way to advertise Quest than to invest in our community in such a way that it creates, whether that's a capital project, whether it's supporting a kid at the livestock sale at the Logan or Hardin County Fair, that then leads to their first automobile, which leads to their first part-time job, or pays for their books in college, and we get something back. One, the name recognition, obviously. Yeah. But it's not dollars spent on fancy mailings and, different things like that businesses of our type and size do. We would much rather invest locally and have our name in a gym, have our name on a building at the fairgrounds, have a kid running around the local pizza parlor with their Little League shirt on with Quest on the back of it. What better advertising is that? And that's, I guess we really look at it like it's not just a short-term investment in marketing. It's a long-term investment in the future of that kid, that family, that organization, our community.
And I would almost probably argue that it's more effective marketing in your local federal credit union, market. Anyway, just from a purely business perspective, like that.
Well, and we still do. I mean, we still do print in all of our local newspapers, radio in all of our local radios. we also digitally market, which, it's interesting. Brian Sprang, who's our CIO, and I mentioned him earlier, I stole him away from our board because he's an IT professional, but he's also got this like really cool creative side to him that he could take our content and turn it digital back when that was sort of the new thing of advertising on your smartphone and stuff. But then, the more down to earth part of it is help you build that building at the fairgrounds, or help with the Little League ball field and there's a banner on a fence somewhere because we donated to the dugout project or whatever it was. It just feels good and it builds the community. And again, goes back to those things that when someone looks at our community for economic development, it's building that asset.
Yeah.
Can you speak to what you have seen in Hardin County, maybe like in the last 20 years, and then particularly in Kenton, some of the new energy and investments that are taking place there?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing I think we can be proud of, even though our community is not a part of Small Nation, although I'm a proponent of that, I don't know that we have reversed the brain drain as people label it, but I think we've stymied it, and we're starting to turn the corner of bringing young people back. And, I did it a long time ago, but now it's far more routine. And we talked about, working from home.
Yeah.
I think that's led to it a little bit as well. That's maybe one of the side benefits of working from home is people realize, well, it's a little cheaper to live in a rural part of the country than it is in the metropolitan part. So, and I can work from anywhere now. That's drawn some people back, but really excited to see, that post-college or post-military service, younger people coming back to our community. And that's, to me, okay, now we have a future.
Right.
But the other things that have been exciting is, our hospital is part of Ohio Health Systems. And, we're all fortunate to have, Mary Rattan Health System, Hardin Memorial Health System. It's really almost incredible to have two really great hospital systems like that in small communities like ours. And I've served on Hardin Memorial Board for 19 years, and now I'm, retired from that, but was on the Ohio Health Board as part of Hardin Memorial. So to really understand hospitals and how that works, we're very, very fortunate. Aside from that, we have green space now. Our schools have all, Kenton's rounding out with a new middle school, high school now. Mm-hmm. But I think about Logan County too, with Bell Fountain's, to me, brand new school. Mm-hmm. Ben Logan's beautiful campus that they have, Indian Lake, West Liberty, at Riverside. Hardin County's gone through that renewal with their school systems. And because of that, we were able to compete against a community, I guess, in Georgia that was International Paper or Graphic Packaging was going to relocate or expand in one community or the other, and we were able to win that. And so Graphic Packaging, or GPI, which is right on the south edge of Kenton, across from the grain elevator, several years ago doubled in size. Wow. And we got that. Now they've built a big warehouse out on the south edge of town by the airport. Of course, any community that's fortunate to have like Ohio Northern University in it, that's an incredible
A lot
asset.
of people, when we talk to other small towns, they are extremely jealous if your community has a college.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's just so much, whether it's research or access to students, and that's a huge benefit to Kenton and Hardin County with Ada. So
and Owen used beautiful. Ada is beautiful, and Ada's got a little hidden manufacturing side to it that not a lot of people know about. But Ada Technologies, which was very small when my wife worked there many years ago, is now very big, part of Honda. But also, one of the coolest things of Hardin County is that we have Wilson football, right? Yeah. And Wilson football could have gone anywhere they wanted to go in the world, or Ohio or Texas or whatever fit their fancy, and yet they rebuilt and expanded their factory in Ada, Ohio, and that's just awesome.
Well, and I don't know, I don't believe that was just by chance. I think the example of what you said, when the opportunity with Rockwell to save them with that special press, I think that's a really important reminder to not just set back with expecting that the great companies that you have will always be great and they'll always be there.
That's right.
And, I look at our region, we here in the region manufacture cars. Mm-hmm. And you cannot not turn on TV and see how that industry is drastically changing right now. And I think that in our role as local leaders, it is keeping the pulse on our factories and the needs that they have, and how we keep preparing our employees that work in those factories for all the changes that are coming.
Right.
How do you kind of think about that regionally, like keeping our region strong?
Well, I think that one, we have to, and it pains me sometimes to say, but we have to have good local representation, whether that's county commissioners, whether that's city council members, whether that's township trustees. Now, those are all, again, salt of the earth, great people, but I mean that clear up through the state of Ohio. And we have to have people that are focused on maintaining the employers that we have and growing new employers and or enhancing the ones that we have. So I think that, unfortunately, politics plays a role in that. But I also think that something that, I see a lot happening in Hardin County, and I happen to be a school board member at Ridgemont, which is my alma mater, but they have, world-renowned Future Farmers of America program, is workforce development. And I think that's something that we can all take part in, whether that's helping out our local schools, whether that's mentoring students at our local schools on small business, or, maybe a kid that's more interested in working with their hands, making sure they have programs available through High Point or through their school where they can learn to weld, they can learn to work on automobiles, they can learn to cut hair, whatever that is, because it's all valuable and it's all future workforce development.
Love that.
Yeah, that's really great. Well, I'm going to kind of transition us here into a little bit of a fun segment. It's our rapid fire Q&A.
Okay.
Round one. First question here is Coke or Pepsi?
Cherry Coke.
Cherry Coke.
Yes,
All right.
I'm really, it's unsweet iced tea, but if I'm going to have if I'm going to drink a soda, which is a couple times a year, it's going to be Cherry Coke.
Yeah. All right.
Good choice.
Yeah, that's a good choice. Second question is, what does your ideal vacation look like?
Right now, it's any time that I get to spend with my only son, who's in the military, and I don't get to see him or talk to him very often, so I don't care. It could be in Siberia. If I'm with him and my wife, it's cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, another great answer. This is maybe one that takes a little bit more thought, but if you weren't in your current career path, what type of work would you be doing?
Interesting. My high school guidance counselor told me military, but
really?
I'm now of the age where I would be retired from the military.
Yeah.
So I would love to think, I'm a huge Cleveland Browns fan, season ticket holder. I would love to do something in their front office.
Wow. Okay.
That's cool. I like that idea.
That's a
so that you've hung on with the Browns. Like,
oh my gosh, Jason!
the look on your face. They're still there with them.
Die hard.
You dare? Okay.
Yeah,
that's a whole other podcast.
Go every Sunday that they're home.
I love that.
And then the next one here is, what's next for Quest Federal Credit Union as you're looking at the horizon?
Yeah, we recently expanded to Russell's Point, which was a commitment that we made a long time ago to the board of the IGA Credit Union Logan community when they moved into Bell Fountain and decided to merge with us or partner with us, because really it was a partnership and not really a merger. They always wanted to have a location at the lake, and so we committed to that. Now, we were building in Ada at the time, and then we had the opportunity to expand to Wyandotte County, Upper Sandusky, and so we're in Upper Sandusky, and it got put on the back burner a couple times, only to have COVID spoil our groundbreaking. So we waited for a year after COVID and broke ground, and so we're just now past that expansion, and our thought process is every 5 to 7 years to expand, and I guess we look at it like, if we do that routinely, one, we continue to grow. We spread our wings and diversify out through other communities. But also, the expense of a building 20 years ago is falling off the balance sheet. So, it's a little bit of a numbers game that we play now. Of course, building that building at Indian Lake is way different than building one 20 years ago.
Of investment.
Yeah, it was a little more of an investment. But so really, it's just kind of continue to lay down roots where we're at. I don't know that we have another expansion really planned or even talked about, for that matter, but we believe and we know that we're in some great communities. When you talk about Upper Sandusky, is awesome. Kenton, very cool. Ada, now Russell's Point, Bell Fountain. We've got a lot of growing to do just right there.
Yeah.
And so I think we just want to double down on the footprint that we have. We want to invest in small business. We want to encourage agriculture, small business. We want to, make sure that we're there serving those dual income families that you talked about, and just making sure that, mom's got a good minivan or SUV to run the kids around in, and dad's got a decent work truck, and everyone's got a nice home. And so that's our goal for now.
Yeah, no, I like that vision too. And I feel like in an age where, it's harder probably for community banks. I think that trajectory of growth is exciting to hear. And before I kind of move into closing questions here, I did want to mention that you also have a podcast, the Exploration Podcast. Is that right?
That is. It's
All
called
right.
Exploration.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So what, we were not bored during COVID, but we were a little bit bored during COVID. And what we decided is that it's a really cool media. And,
Yeah.
I'm thrilled and honored, to be honest with you, that you both asked me to join. And of course, Jason Duff and Small Nation, everybody knows who that is. And so it's really neat to be a guest on a podcast. But Brian Sprang and I came up with the idea that, maybe this is a good way to talk to the community. And you mentioned your dad and his commute.
Yeah.
Give people something to listen to that, educates them about Quest and or something that's on their mind. So we started out with just the first 4 or 5 is, what is a credit union? How is it different than a bank?
Yeah.
What's Quest's story? What's our board of directors look like, and how do they function? That type of thing. And then we drilled down into, how do I reset my online banking password on a Sunday afternoon? When we're not open.
Right.
How do I get my first car loan? How do I build a credit score? How do I help my kid apply for a student loan? So it's just an entire library of stuff like that, most people may find it really dull, but that one episode that matters to that person will be pretty cool, and it's fun to listen to. And we keep it light, and we laugh, and it's just a good time. And so there's 25 plus episodes out there, just all things credit union related, all things banking related.
Great. So if you're interested in learning more specifics, either about Quest or just some of those general topics too, you said student loans and things like that.
Sure.
I think that's a great idea, to just let's have a conversation about it and make the barrier of entry or intimidation factor way less, and anyone can turn on a podcast and listen to that. So super cool. And I wanted to encourage listeners to go check that out if they're interested in learning more. A couple closing questions here for you. What is one professional development resource that was impactful for you on your journey?
The leadership program that we talked about, and it's a program of OSU Extension, and I know that Logan County has their version of it, Hardin County theirs. It was just an opportunity to learn how our government operates, local government, a little more deeply, to network with some young professionals at the time. So to me, just to be able to get in a room with other like-minded people of different ages and backgrounds and businesses was very, very valuable.
Yeah, 100%. That's a great resource. And then, what is the website for Quest, and on social media and things like that? You're on Facebook and everything, right?
Facebook, X, Instagram, just about anything you want. We're at Quest FCU, and that's properly spelled Quest, and then F like federal, C like credit, U like union. So if you just look up Quest FCU on any of the social media platforms, you're going to find us, www.questfcu.com, obviously, for our website. And then, of course, in your podcast store, if you search Quest Exploration, you'll find us.
Great, and I'll link the podcast and the website at minimum in the show notes there, so you can go check that out.
Matt, thank you for being a steward of service, and I think for listeners today, just hearing your story of moving from employee to becoming the CEO of the organization, how you did it, and then also just the ways that you plug in and give back with your time, your talent, and your treasure. And I think that allocating time to think about your thinking and being surrounded by other leaders continues to not only help you, but you're taking all of that wisdom and helping and teach other leaders to do good things in their community too, including me. And so I appreciate you being a sounding board and being an advisor, and what's happening in Kenton is not by chance, it's by intention. And if those listeners, if you haven't been following, there's been a lot of really awesome positive news that about some work that's happening in the state representatives right now and the state budget. We're excited for the Senate to act on that legislation too,
Right.
But bringing back more of that money to taxpayers that already paid that money, and actually see it go for infrastructure, things like, improving our water lines and our sewer lines and our streets and our sidewalks. Because when you get a really good foundation, that then gives business owners confidence to invest capital and start new businesses. And Kenton is one of those communities. It's like where Bell Fountain was a few years ago. And for those investors that are listening, if you haven't been there recently, you need to go take the trip, because there are still buildings that can be purchased.
Absolutely.
And there is a guy on this podcast that you've heard him talk about that he is wanting you, he's asking you to walk in the door of Quest Federal Credit Union and start talking about financing that may be available.
Absolutely. Happy to help. And yeah, it's the work that's getting done right now. They just closed the street earlier this week. It's not going to be sexy, but it's very, very important, because it's all, underground infrastructure related, and it's the perfect launch site for a small business.
And I will double down on that. It really is at a opportunity that once these investments and these improvements are made, those infrastructure, that's good for 100 years. And so it really is the time to be that first mover, just like we were in Bell Fountain 15 years ago. It's scary, it's lonely, but I do think with finding the people like you, and the city is also willing to help out in a lot of different ways.
That's right.
Too.
Yeah, and the Chamber and Business Alliance, Hardin County Chamber and Business Alliance, which is the merger of multiple organizations into one that's just got a great mission, and they're one-stop shop, all things economic developments, rolling out small grant programs, small loan programs to help with storefront renovation. I mean, there's lots of opportunity there.
Kenton, Ohio, put it on the map. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks for tuning in on this episode of the Small Nation Podcast. We hope that conversation proved valuable to you. And if you enjoyed it, be sure to share the episode and follow the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite podcasting platform. You can also subscribe to the Small Nation YouTube channel if you prefer to watch your episodes. Follow Small Nation on social media, and we'll see you in the next episode.